In this video, we're going to talk about training on Football Manager. I'm going to share with you how I normally approach training. Now, I know that team training on Football Manager does not directly influence your player development. However, training has an influence on your team's performance, your team happiness, your tactical familiarity, and all those other parts of the game that are just as crucial as player development when it comes to winning trophies and dominating in the game. So before we cover everything that I normally do in training, I just want to tell you straight up, most of it I actually delegate, but I'm going to share with you what I normally do when I'm not delegating, or the parts that I usually don't delegate and I go ahead and tweak. I'm going to share with you everything that I know about training, ranging from our team's general idea of training and how I go about it, what we do in match preparation, how we approach our individual training, our resting, and also coaches. We'll also look at the schedule, and not in detail, by the way, but we're going to look at the schedule and also the preset schedule and most of the things that I go on to tweak inside the schedule when I'm tweaking it for particular games. And with regards to coaches, I'm going to show you how I normally just delegate most of the training to my staff to do it. And I highly recommend that you do that because the game gets very long. So you have to delegate some stuff to your staff, to your coaching staff, especially under 18s and under 21 coaching staff. So let's get into it then. And when you go back to the training tab, in case you don't already know, it's divided into tabs like this sub tabs where you have the overview tab, your calendar, schedules, units, match preparation, mentoring groups, of course, individual training for players, their resting schedules, and of course, coaches. So starting with the overview tab there, we can see that you have your schedule here in block for the week. And this schedule is normally taken from the calendar we see here. So you can see the training calendar. We have the game coming up against Southampton, and that is the week that is here. So that's what we see in the overview tab. The following week, we have two games. That's the game against Ipswich on a Tuesday and the game against Brighton. So for the Southampton game that is here, I've added a match review. I like to do this most of the time. So that is the one tweak that I like to do. This helps with match what do we call it? Tactical familiarity. If you go ahead and select this, you see a match preview, and it helps you. It's dedicated to analyzing the previous match, that's against Southampton. It gives you a huge tactical familiarity boost, improves your team's passing, marking, and also team cohesion. All the stuff are quite important, so I like to add them in. When it comes to schedules, I like to allow the default to be there. Like I said, I don't really go deep into this stuff. I don't really do that much anymore. The default kind of works well, but there are some times when you want to change it, like in the game against Southampton, for example. Since the week has already started, I can't really do anything about it. But we can see here we have a training balance style against the game that is coming up against Ipswich and Brighton. I can go ahead and make a lot of tweaks here because I don't like the way this is set up. And I can go ahead and click this and then add match review for the Ipswich game. Or in case I don't want match review, I want to better prepare for Brighton, I can go ahead and take it off. But what I like to do is to add the match review to both of these games. And I like to have a rest schedule just before the game. So you can see that there is a rest session here before the Brighton game and also a rest session before the Ipswich game. This allows you to have a lot of players fresh for that game. So in case your player, you don't always have to cram all the training schedules and use everything and then get your players to be super jacked. You may not, your players might be tired before that game, and you don't want your players to be tired. They might not perform well. So having one rest session before the game is quite important. Having another one after is quite good as well. So that is the only tweak that I can go ahead and make here. When it comes to player happiness, what I tend to do is to go into the individual training schedules, and then you can see a list of all your other players that are in the team. George Evans is the best performer right now. He's already selected, so you can go ahead and select him here, and you can see all the training instructions you can give to him. He's currently playing as a center back, and if you look at his age range, he's currently 29 years old, so I don't really add any other thing to him, just have him playing everything normal. For Seb Revan, on the other hand, he's playing as a wing back. I can go ahead and add an additional instruction for him because he's a much younger player, so he's playing as a wing back on the left hand side. I can ask him to play as a wing back on attack duty. That is his current position in the tactic that I'm currently using. So if you go ahead and select a player like this, you can see the opportunity to speak to the player or praise him or criticize him based on his training performance. I can go ahead, since I've selected Seb Revan, I can go ahead and hit praise and then go ahead and praise the player. I tend to do this with all the other individual instructions. With the Tato skin that we're using, I can select multiple players like they just click and drag everybody down. You're going to get the option to praise all your players individually. That's something I do that actually boosts our training performance. Usually when you praise players like this or criticize players that are not playing so well, they tend to have a minor boost in their performance. You can see Callum Burton, our goalkeeper. I honestly never knew this guy was my goalkeeper. The reason why he doesn't have his option on is because I've probably already criticized him. So let's go ahead and select Ryan Barnett. You can go ahead and hit criticize and criticize the player he understands. Go ahead and say, okay, he's going to have a small boost in his training performance. When it comes to rest sessions, I tend to follow the conventional approach that people normally do. I've not done it yet in this save because like I mentioned, I've not really gone very deep into training. I'm working on a different project right now. But what I tend to do most times is to go over to the players that are fully match fit, that are excellent in condition, and change their training to double intensity. I know that it's going to get really serious, but since we're in the championship and it's January, I kind of prefer it to be on normal. But if we're starting in just preseason, I tend to drop this to double intensity and increase the intensity to allow my players get into tactical familiarity a lot quicker. But I'm just going to allow this to be on normal intensity. Then players that are very poor in their match condition, I don't really do any gym or pitch work. And also players that are they have very poor or poor conditions, no pitch or gym work for them. And then players that are somewhat half or fair like this, I can change it to half intensity. Then the only players that are going to do normal intensity is the players that are fairly good or just good. Then, like I said, normally this will be double intensity, normal intensity, half intensity, no pitch or gym work for the other last two. So I'm just going to leave it here on normal intensity. Then I go ahead to select all my players like this and make sure all of them have the automatic training intensity set, so that this rules is going to go ahead and apply to them. If you don't have the automatic training intensity set for your players here, these rules might not apply to them, so you have to go ahead and set it here first. Now for coaches, this part can be very tricky. First, you want to have a coaching staff that is suitable, and then just get all your coaching staff ready. You don't have, like, I have only 5 coaches now, but I think we should be okay. There's still one space for one more, which is a head of performance analyst. I can go ahead and get one, but 5 coaches out of 5, I think it's okay for a championship club. So you can go ahead and edit coaches here. What you want to do is make sure that no coach has heavy workload. That is the best way that I can tell you that you can get the best out of your players so far. So in case you can't do it by yourself, you can ask the assistant manager to assign coaches. He's going to spread the workload to make sure that everybody is doing at least average or light workload. So you go ahead and click OK, and you can see that everybody is, well, given average or light workload. So no coach is doing too much or dealing with too many players. You also want to find a balance between having the right coaches do the right job. So you don't want to have let's say the head coach now, for example, he has poor goalkeeping coaches, and then you're asking him to coach the goalkeepers on shot stopping or handling or all this kind of stuff. You don't really want that. So you want to I try to just ask the assistant to assign and then make sure that everybody's doing the right jobs. Now, when it comes to happiness for players, you have to go over to the squad to fix this. So you won't really do this in the training tab. Let's look for a player that is fairly unhappy. Well, in my squad, I think we're doing quite well in the fact that the last player here is fairly good. So everything I'm telling you right now is going to get your squad to look like this. I don't really have unhappy players right now. I wish I had one for this example. So there's Ryan Longman in here. He's fairly happy, but he hasn't been training that much. And if you go over to his development tab and go over to training, you can see all of the additional info about the player, and you can go ahead and assign some training routines for him. I also look at the assistant manager's recommendation for additional focus. You can see here you can put the player on an individual training to improve his attacking movement. To do that, you can go back to additional focus here and then ask him to improve his attacking movement. Just select the attacking movement as an option. He tends to develop on that, and then you can just watch and see what is happening. He's currently a 6.15 in training rating, but the arrow here is showing that he's green up. So having a conversation with this player to either criticize or praise him might not have any positive impact. So I'm just going to just leave him alone and just observe how he performs in training. I don't like to do too much additional focus, and in case I'm doing an additional focus or attacking movement, I don't really need to change the player's role at the moment, so I can just leave him on his playing position. But in case I'm not doing an additional focus and I want a player to train a new position, I can go ahead and change the position here and assign the role based on that position. That's what I normally do in the game. Now, there's one more thing we haven't spoken about, and that is training presets. So if you go over to the schedule tab here, you can see that we do not have any current schedule, but you can go ahead and select this drop down here, and you're going to see a load of presets based on the tactical philosophy, based on the tactical preset. So there's route 1, gegen pressing, tiki-taka, fluid counter-attacking. Each of them have their own training schedule. So if you go ahead and click counter-attacking or fluid counter-attack, there's a schedule for no matches, there's a schedule for 1 match, there's a schedule for 2 games. So we have, let's go for a direct counter-attacking style of play, 2 games. We're going to go ahead and apply this to the We're going to go ahead and apply this to that Ipswich fixture where there's also a Brighton fixture. So in case this is the direct counter attack too much, I can go ahead and click save as direct counter attack. I can give it a name. Let's call it Ipswich IP. Go ahead and click OK. So that's going to be one training schedule for us. You can go ahead and tweak this, and there are a lot of other preset schedules that you can go ahead and use. I think they're relevant for match scenarios or tactical styles in case you want to do that. I really have to do this because if you go over to the calendar, what we need is usually there. But I can go ahead and change this tactical style from balance. Just select a new one. There's a custom schedule that we saved. Direct custom counter-attacking EP. I apply that into this one right here. So we have our match game 2. I can go ahead and change this and add a match review for the Ipswich game, but I want to be well prepared for the Brighton game, so making sure that we have a lot of rest in there. I can go ahead and choose match review for this one and also add another match review here just to make sure that we have everything settled for that game. So this is the counter-attacking presets for the week. I think we're good, and that is how I go about applying. Usually for two game weeks like this, I can go ahead and make sure that my players are training the right way that they're supposed to train instead of just leaving it randomly to chance. Now you can see one here that looks like a tactical training schedule, but we're having a lot of rest without doing anything. So I can go ahead and change this as well. What I'm going to do here is to add a direct counter-attacking complete training schedule for this one. So I can go back to schedules and go ahead and select a new one. Custom schedules, or based on tactical style, direct counter-attack, one game. I have it in here. I'm going to go ahead and save this as direct counter-attack BR, or the Bristol game. Go ahead and click OK and go back to the calendar, and then make sure that I have that selected in custom schedule. Bristol City, have that in there. I can go also and add my match review like I always tend to do, because if you go ahead and add match preview, this adds a level of tactical familiarity boost for your team. Also, team cohesion is increased. In case you're struggling with team cohesion and tactical familiarity, add match review after every single game in Football Manager. Trust me, it's going to boost your team's performance a whole lot. Let's go ahead and click confirm, and we have that in there. But in case I want to play direct counter attacking presets every single match day, I can go ahead and click copy for this and then go over to the next, let's say February, and against Bristol City we have another game against West Brom. I'm going to allow that one so my team does not get bored, and go over to tactical play, wing play here, and go ahead and click paste. There's the paste option. We can paste the tactical style. This is for direct counter attack, and it has modified it even though it's still calling it wing play. So we go ahead and paste it there. We also have 2 game weeks, so I'm going to go ahead and paste the double game week, or I can go over to the Coventry game here, click this drop down and go to custom schedule, select the one that was for Ipswich, which was a 2 game week. Go ahead and add match review again, just like we did during the Ipswich game. Click OK. Since there's match review added to this one, I'm going to copy this one, head over to Derby County game and click paste over here. And that is pretty much how I just go about doing this. It's not something that I do, or it's not something I sit and do over time. It's just something that comes subconsciously, that I tend to just look at a game and I don't like the game week, I go ahead and change to something else that I prefer. Or if I look at the game week and I like how it is, I just leave it and ignore it completely. So one more thing before we go is to look at how I normally delegate the staff to do most of the training for me. So what you tend to do is to go back to the staff schedule, go back to responsibilities, and then scroll down to training. You're going to see that I have my under 21 team doing the training with our head of youth development. He is taking care of the under 21. Since I don't have a huge staff, my head of youth development has to fill in. We also have Nick Chadwick that is working in the under 18. He's the under 18 head coach, so he's going to be doing the training with them. You can choose to take control and also choose to delegate. I'm just going to delegate to Nick Chadwick, but you can see that for the team's general training, I'm currently in charge of that. So because I have the player attributes or the managerial attributes for it, I just prefer it to be that way. But you can go ahead and delegate individual training like this, give it to the assistant manager, or just leave the training to your assistant manager. You can choose to do this and then forget about training completely, but I prefer to just take control of the team's general training and then leave the rest, the under 21 and the under 18 staff, leave it to the under 18 and the under 21 staff. So that is how I normally go about training on Football Manager. Like I mentioned, it kind of affects how your team performs. It may not really affect your team's or your players' individual development, which is not something that I feel we control a lot. You can try to control it. I think at best you just get the very good players that have good personalities, and then try to put them into your team and play them a lot, they will develop. Send them on loan, they will develop. But when it comes to your team's performance in game, when your team's performance in the game and winning games, having a happy squad like this, where is that? Squad dynamics, having a happy squad, good club atmosphere, good managerial support, training sort of helps you have that. It's a very good engine room that can help you get good results and be in a good position where everything is going well. So let me know how it works out for you, if you enjoy doing this, and how you normally go about training in your own save. Let me know in case I need to also add something to mine. You can share some advice for me, and I'll go ahead and implement them and let you know how it works out, maybe in a separate video. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.